All right, well, welcome back. We understand Glenn is having a little audio issue on his end, so we're going to have Joe provide a little bit of feedback to us on terms of how they have caucused and what they're thinking in terms of the firms that will be shortlisted. And if you care to identify those firms that you are intending to support for interviews. So Joe, if you want to, the floor is open to you.
Well, thank you, Catherine. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Well, due to technology failures, I guess I'll be a poor substitute for Glenn, but we'll see what happens. I'll do the bottom line up front. We, along with the earlier conversation, we think there were three that stood apart for us, particularly with I'll call the project applicability, and in no particular order, firms C, D, and F are the ones that caught our eye. D, E, F, as much as anything, the fact that they have done equivalent projects. Again, things are different in Pennsylvania and California, but they have done equivalent projects with state emergency management agencies and emergency operations centers and headquarters. So that's I guess kind of the short version. There's some comfort in that for us, knowing that they have taken other states and kind of heavyweights, if you will, within our industry, California, Pennsylvania, and some of the others, particularly in D, well-respected jurisdictions that are professional partners, if you will, agencies, and if they got good service from those firms, that makes us confident. And with regard to firm C, their familiarity and working with the state of Minnesota, and particularly on some of the security issues without building bunkers and fortresses, making sure there's public access and buildings are redundant and securable while remaining open, but being able to be closed off to the public when needed. So those are the top three firms that in our mind as we look at them.
Excuse me, I didn't hear your middle one. You had C and F. What was the middle one?
D as in dog.
D. Okay, thank you.
Any other comments by the board as you think about the firms? Well, before we vote, and Erin is going to take the roll, to the firms that will be shortlisted, I have some remarks at the end that I want to be sure you stay on the line and listen to. So with that, Erin, I will get you to call the roll.
Sue.
B, C, F.
Jan.
B, C, F.
Bill.
You're muted, Bill.
No, I'm not. C, D, and F.
Ed.
C, E, F.
Tom.
C, D, and F.
Joe.
Were you calling me, Erin?
Yep. Yes.
Yes.
I apologize. C,
Okay.
D, F.
Catherine.
C, D, and F.
So by way of the vote, firm A received 0 votes, Firm B received 1 vote. Firm C received 7 votes. Firm D received 4 votes. Firm E received 2 votes. Firm F received 7 votes. And Firm G received 0 votes. So firms C, D, and F were selected.
Could you, Aaron, only because my numbers don't quite tabulate, can you go through who the votes were for?
Sure. So for Sue, I have C, E, and F.
Pardon
No,
me?
no. Correction, mine were B, C, B as in boy, C as in cat, F as in Frank.
Okay. I'm sorry. I misheard you. I did the E instead of B. So would you like me to continue going through everybody else? Double check.
So give me the new tally.
So the new tally is B has 2, C has 7, D has 4, E has 1, F has 7, G has 0, and I'm sorry, A also has 0.
Yep. Okay, good. We're on the same page.
Okay.
And that's why we check each other.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. So by way of the vote,
So by way of the vote, firms C, firms D, and firm F were selected.
okay. So let me give a couple of remarks, and I feel free after I've done these to also chime in. I'm going to tell these firms, I specifically want to hear how you will lead the programming and design effort, particularly in the early phases of this project. I think that by and large, that was just unclear throughout all the proposals. And then how you will benchmark with other facilities. Because I think it's going to be important for Joe and Kevin and Glenn that they really see sort of the breadth of experience that others are applying to this, others are doing to this project. Maybe they're not things that you'll end up doing, but boy, I think it's going to be really important, whether they're projects even that they've designed or they haven't designed. You know, I think that it's going to be important that they help lead you through this programming and design effort. So that's one of the things that I'm interested in hearing. As was stated in the RFP, if you're a firm that's been shortlisted and you have not been to the board since we've gone to the WebEx meetings, which none of these firms have, we are giving you an opportunity to test your access to the software with one-time video access and set up with Aaron. Aaron and I'm going to participate in this one as well as I did with the last one. This is not intended for you to go through your presentation. You can't talk, frankly, you can't talk about the project. But if you're going to have PowerPoint, or if you're going to have PDFs, or if you're going to do handoffs, we want this to be a time for you to test this. We don't want to be getting on to an interview and have the stress of the first time getting onto a WebEx presentation with us to be something that derails you. We want, you know, there's enough stress in presenting to this group, much less we don't want the technology to get in the way. However, the other thing I would say is Aaron is particularly busy. So the earlier you can set that appointment, the better. Maybe you don't know all the parts and pieces of your presentation. I don't care if you put up a PowerPoint about your trip to Yosemite or whatever. Just get the people who are going to be part of that presentation engaged so that you have a good test run with us. We urge you to also use or have someone running your presentation, perhaps not someone who is presenting at the same time. That is certainly allowed, and that does not need to be someone who was part of the RFP process. we tell you that you can send your PDF of your presentation to the board or to the executive secretary who will give it to the board. Just understand, we don't always have the ability to follow along with that during the presentation. So hopefully your technology will work, but we urge you to, if you're going to do a PowerPoint, also have a backup PDF and have those ready and at hand. One final comment, firms may not attend the interviews of other presenters. So while we have attendees that are highlighted, and I can see who those folks are, if you or your subconsultants are going to be, are part of a shortlisted team, you cannot also be attending as well. Any other thoughts or comments about the process based on either your experience or some of the questions you would like them to address during their presentation?
Yes, I would have a comment. I think only one of the interviewees last time sent a PDF of their presentation.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't want to see that before the presentation, and I'm not sure that it's necessarily appropriate for board members to have advance access to the presentations before they're made. So that's my comment.
I agree. The placemats were helpful.
The placemats were routine. The presentation, I didn't realize that's what it was. I thought it was the placemat, and it got a little confusing, but then I didn't bother to look at it because I didn't want to prejudge based on, you know, a naked PDF. So I would suggest that the board not get those. That would be.
Agreed.
Well, I think as we just when we put that together as an option for them, it was to be kind of a belt and suspenders.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say some firms said they don't want to send it either. They don't want to send it, but the concern was if technology fails,
Right.
might there be a backup? And that was.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to gauge is, are we saying no, that they can't send a PDF of their presentation?
I guess I'm saying go ahead and send it. I'm not going to look at it.
Okay. Okay, and that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
Chances are we won't be able to look at it online, and frankly, I don't know that I'd want the board to be looking at it online. I'd like to concentrate on. I'd like them to be concentrating on my face if I was a presenter.
Yeah.
So send the PDF at your own risk, but chances are it won't get a lot of traction. Other comments by anyone? Joe, Glenn, the board?
Yeah, none from me, Catherine.
Okay. All right. With that, we will see you in 2 weeks. Are there any other agenda items or new business that anyone would like to talk about? Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Murph E.
Second.
All right, folks.
We're done.
See you in